Overheard. How did you catch your SO cheating? My ex-husband and his family smoked a lot of pot, still do. His sister, kids, and nanny were visiting from out of state for a few weeks. When it was time to fly home, they left their stash at my ex-mother-in-law's house because they didn't want to take it on the plane. My ex asked if I would pick it up because I was nearby. Stupidly, I agree. I don't smoke and I was willing to carry it in my car for him. To my surprise, I found a note from the nanny to my ex saying she was in love with him and she was so happy for the time they had together. Obviously, she thought he would get the weed instead of me. While it was incredibly painful at the time, I am definitely living my best life 15 years later. Is your ex with the nanny now? They stayed together for 3 years. The worst part was knowing that she was mommy to my kids during ex's visitation. She even filled out my youngest's welcome to kindergarten packet with her and ex's information, leaving mine off. I cleared that up with the school quickly. She finally left when he started cheating on her. Good riddance. Worst one I know of is an acquaintance of mine came home from work one day and found his missus having sex with his dad. That blew up all over Facebook and became a local drama fest where people tried to organize a shunning of the dad and missus. I remember it well because, well, I know people cheat, but with your partner's father? Come on, that's hard to beat. A guy I know was cheating on his wife and she unexpectedly came home for lunch. They lived on a busy street in a small town. Wife grabbed girlfriend by her long hair and threw her out on the street naked, and that's how the whole town found out. Wife was acting unusual for a few weeks. She would want to spend time by herself on the weekends, and when she came home at night from work, she would often sit in the driveway for 20 minutes on the phone. I'm not dumb. I bought a voice-activated digital recorder and stuck it in her car. I knew what I needed to know in less than 24 hours. I was in the Navy and was out on deployment for 6 months after just recently getting engaged. It's one of those stupid things that young military guys do. One day I get a letter from my fiance's best friend telling me that she caught my fiance and her BF together. This was years before email and smartphones were common. We write back and forth several times, and eventually it comes out how she caught them, how my fiance begged her not to tell me, and that the fiance didn't know that we were corresponding. I eventually get back to the States and plan to play it off as though I didn't know, but too many of my friends intercepted me with the news that it wasn't just the one guy, but several, and let me know that she knew that I was aware. Eventually we met, and the confrontation was minimal and tame. We broke off the engagement without a lot of drama. She kept the ring. The best friend and I ended up hooking up, at first as sort of a revenge fuck kind of thing, but turned serious. We celebrate our 32nd wedding anniversary this year. Edit, maths. This year will be 31. After 20, it's all a blur. Right on, that's a great ending to a shitty situation. She didn't realize that her iPhone messages were also synchronized to her Mac, which I was using to stream movies on. I saw a text popping up with her writing to her ex about how she loved taking his load on her face. I just packed up my shit and left. The same thing also ruined a relationship for me. I was watching Netflix on his laptop as he went to the library to do work. His messages start popping up about how he just saw the hottest girl with 1010 ass, tits, and face. How rare that was, and how he wishes that my body was different. All in a group chat to 3 of our friends. I just packed up and left as well. She demanded to read all the messages on my phone. I said no problem, but only if I could read the messages on hers. She had forgotten to delete a message from a guy saying, "All we ever do is fuck. Can't we hang out sometime?" There was nothing on my phone. This was exactly how I found out my ex-boyfriend was sexting other girls. He found nothing on my phone because there was nothing to find. He had a whole message thread making up plans to fuck some other chick. I've never seen anyone cry so hard as fast as he did. He apparently wrote an address wrong, and the love letter he wrote was returned to our home. It was a great way to come back from vacation. Your side. Who puts a return address on an illicit love letter? What a moron. Bro, I know someone who got busted because he had written a packing list for his business trip that included condoms. Not me, but my dad. His girlfriend at the time had been cheating on him with his friend, who didn't know they were in a relationship. My dad found out when his friend told him he was gonna propose to her. Nah, that's wild. Are they still friends?
Yeah, they still laugh about it to this day. Apparently she had double booked without realizing it, and he showed up at the same time as the other dude. They met at the door, he said, "Forget this, wanna go for a drink?" And that's how he met his friend, Russ. Never talked to her again. My 9-year-old son told me that there were strange men in the house when I was away working. She'd been at it for years. It's horrible to deal with at the time, but honestly, it's such a relief to be rid of such a toxic mess. Holy shit, the mother of your child would sleep with other men while the child was around? Some fucking people, honestly. How the fuck did they even love with themselves? Just, wow, lol. Yep, pretty bad. It happened more often than I'll ever know, truthfully, but it is what it is now. Took me a few years to really process it, but think I'm close to healed from it now. Still see my children and have met a new girl who is everything I've ever wanted in a woman and more. He sent me a pic of the dog while I was away with a text that said, "Look how cute she looks." Like 3 weeks later, I went back to the photo to show a friend, and upon looking at the photo again, I noticed a pair of women's boots in the background by the door. Must sting to be hooking up with someone and have them be like, "Hold on, I need to get a picture of this. My wife will love it." Similar story. I drove by his house in the early evening unannounced as I'd left a coat there I wanted to wear. He answered the door in just his boxers, and I could just tell by his face something was up. Then I spotted women's shoes in the hallway behind him and knew immediately they belonged to the girl he told me not to worry about. Not really wild, but my ex-wife and I owned a small business together. One day I noticed a strange email address on the office computer, her first name and a different last name. I realized that email was still logged in, so I took a peek. I found 2 years worth of emails between my ex and some dude she dated before me. So I printed out every email and had it bound in a binder ready to present to my divorce lawyer. What happened to the business? I gave her 100% of the business to keep a divorce quick and painless. I also did that so she didn't try to get a portion of my military retirement. The business closed down within 6 months because she was terrible with money. You didn't just dodge a bullet, you dodged a dependopotamus. My fire alarm woke me up when it was low on batteries at 5 a.m. and thought it was strange that my girlfriend wasn't home yet, so she was out drinking with her friend. I tried to call her, but she didn't answer. That's when I remembered that we had the friend's spare key. She lived like next house, so I went to check and my girlfriend was sleeping in her friend's bed with some guy. If the fire alarm didn't woke me, I think I wouldn't have ever known. And yet again, fire alarms save lives. Get a fire alarms, people. They're multitaskers. Phone bill. She was texting some random number 600 times a month. I thought I recognized the number, and when I put it in my phone, it was a buddy of mine. This is actually how it started for me. I was looking at revising our phone plan to one with less data and happened to notice a massive amount of texts on her line. Dug into the records and found it was to a coworker. About 48 hours later, I got home from work, night shift, and she wasn't home. Took a random guess and drove to their office at 4 a.m. For some reason, common ground made sense. Found them both in the parking lot. That was smart of you, though. 2 interesting ones from close friends. Friend's neighbor looked into her house from the second floor and saw him fucking the nanny. They're currently in divorce proceedings, though he's still dating the nanny. The more interesting one is a friend was headed to Thanksgiving with her husband when she got a text from a woman saying, "Your husband has been fucking me and several other women," then gave a list of the women. She was aghast, not sure what to do, then the woman sent pics as evidence. The woman was pissed as he had promised her he would spend Thanksgiving with her instead of his wife/my friend. My friend divorced him. Fucking the nanny. I'd be more angry that I'd married a cliche. Found my wife's notebook. Written on the first page was a 10-step plan detailing how she was going to leave me for another guy. I turned it into 1 step. When my STD test came back and the doctor said verbatim, "Well, your girlfriend is lying to you." Dating this girl a few years back and I became really good friends with her brother just because he appreciated my help during a difficult time for their family. Their father had abruptly passed away. 2 years into the relationship, the brother contacts me and asks to meet up for coffee and a serious conversation. Apparently, he caught his own sister with another guy, mutual friend of ours, and this should have been going on for like a year. As soon as he found out, I was told, broke up with her, still friends with her brother. Go figure. That guy's a bro. Came back from a trip 4 hours early. Wife was supposed to be at work still. Opened the front door to see her sitting topless on the couch making out with a coworker. He ran out the door, she ran into a bathroom and locked the door. Sat on that couch for about an hour because I couldn't think what else to do. Finally just up and left so she could come out of the bathroom and put a shirt on. I hope you left really quietly so she still thinks you're sitting there. Some say she's still topless in that bathroom to this day. June 1st, 2018, normal day, a Friday. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman who my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it for about 3 months, but then they started up again. When he found out they were at it again, he called my husband because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done. On the phone, he he told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently my husband thought that he was bluffing. So I was literally the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was December 21st, 2018. We have been together for 24 years. Still hurts. I was married. Out of the blue, while at work, I get an email that says husband's name, wife. When I open the email, it lists off a name and says husband's name, married to her. Check on Facebook. English was not the first language. This was overseas. So I do, and what do I see? Tons and tons and tons and tons of pictures of a woman with my husband. The woman and her kids with my husband. The woman and her family with my husband. I was stunned, to say the least. It was October 6, 2017, 7 months after I almost died from an ectopic pregnancy. Yep, we were trying at that point to have kids. After work, I went home and started throwing all of his stuff in the dumpster. He was out of town at the time, so I had plenty of time to do it. Spent all of Saturday and Sunday throwing everything he owned in the dumpster. A month later, I moved to a new apartment and waited until then to tell him I was divorcing him. He then killed himself a few months later.
Fuck, I didn't expect that ending.
I couldn't find my then wife after she got off work one afternoon/evening. I tried to call her cell phone with no answer. She didn't show up to the house until 9:30 p.m. She weaved some tale about getting stuck in traffic. I did some sleuthing and pulled the State Farm Good Driving app up, which tracks your movements. I found out she had been leaving work early, going to the nearby rest area off of the expressway, and having sex with a 20-something trucker she met at her previous job. I decided to interrupt the festivities one afternoon. I showed up to the rest area, parked in front of his rig, and jumped right out to the door. The cabin shade was drawn. I withdrew the shades and saw my loving ex-wife with a meth pipe in her hand and was going to town on this guy. He had the gall to tell me to give them privacy. I didn't handle it very well. I called the cops, they both were arrested for possession, and I promptly filed for divorce. The icing on the cake is that a few months after I left, she cheated on her new trucker friend and is well on her way to her 7th friend. Godspeed, you wet, musty nightmare. That was all for today. Share your stories in the comments and we will definitely answer you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell. See you in the next video. Your team overheard.